online at foxbangor.com. More people choose Good Morning Maine.
Hello everyone. Today on Good Morning Maine, residents of Ohio Street were startled by a large explosion and 12-foot flames.
Plus, we'll hear from Senator Susan Collins about an appropriations package, which includes significant funding for projects here in Maine.
And Maine dairy farmers gather for an important meeting to discuss the challenges they all face.
Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us on this Friday morning. We'll have all the day's news coming up, including in a special interview about a fun event happening this weekend in Orrington. But first, to check the forecast. Unfortunately, the weather's not looking great. It's still kind of mild for this time of year, but we can expect a little bit of rain, a little bit of snow, depending on where you live.
Saturday looks better, though,
Yeah.
thankfully. Yeah. Here's Devin Biggs with that forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. We've made it to Friday morning. We have one small spot under a small crack advisory along the coast of Maine. Now lasts until about 6 p.m. as we head towards this evening, as things will begin to calm down by that point. We are watching precipitation that's moving in now from the west to the east, as some rain and yes, some snow will be mixing in. I'm not too worried about any major snow accumulations. You might get a little bit, but most of it will fall as rain later on today as temperatures warm into the 40s. Here's that system right about in here. It's a large one, though, giving us some rain and snow opportunities across the northeast, but further down to the south and west, you can see the rain showers and even some thunderstorms that are developing further off towards the south and west. Futurecast for today will start to lose the precipitation during the afternoon period. We'll even lose the clouds for a bit later on tonight, but more clouds and a little bit of precipitation on the way as we head towards your Saturday. As for the wind, though, not too bad. Roughly at around 5 to 10 miles per hour for today. Not too bad. We'll see the winds backing off later on tonight, especially as we head towards tomorrow as well. For today, lower 40s, mostly cloudy, rain and snow opportunities do exist, with that northeast wind getting up to about 5 to 10 miles per hour. By tonight, lower 30s under a partly cloudy sky, and the north breeze only at about 5 miles per hour. As we head towards tomorrow, we have upper 40s, mostly cloudy, some sprinkles possible as well, with a light and variable wind. Alrighty, that hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing rain and snow chances on the way, backing off for the afternoon with highs in the lower 40s or so. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma.
All right, thank you, Devin. A fire at Colonial Pines Mobile Home Park destroyed a home and seriously injured one man who was inside. Our Doug Banks spoke to Bangor's assistant fire chief and eyewitnesses who said they heard what sounded like a very loud explosion.
First responders were notified at 12:13 Thursday afternoon of a man trapped inside a burning house located at 1343 Ohio Street in Bangor. According to Bangor's assistant fire chief, crews arrived on scene and quickly removed the victim from the mobile home. He says the victim was alive when he was pulled from the burning home and was immediately taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. His current condition is unknown at this time.
We had two ambulance crews on one ambulance and a Bangor police officer that drove us to the hospital.
One neighbor whose home was damaged from the fire told us her fiance was pulling out of the driveway.
And he heard a big explosion and 12-foot flames come up over here. And the whole side of my trailer is all melted.
Assistant Fire Chief Corvo could not confirm the reports of an explosion or the number of occupants who occupied the home. One Colonial Pines resident was in his home at the time when he heard a loud noise, prompting him to go outside.
Saw the flames coming out of the trailer that fast.
Wister says he tried to get inside the burning home, but the flames prevented him from doing so.
I couldn't break the window, couldn't kick in the door. Tried, but the fire department got here fast.
According to Corvo, all 3 Bangor fire stations, along with first responders from Herman, Glenburn, the National Guard, and Hamden, had the fire under control by 12:26, only 10 minutes after crews arrived.
We couldn't do what we do without these guys, right?
No first responders were injured, and the cause of the fire is being investigated by the State Fire Marshal's Office. In Bangor, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
And we received an update last night about the individual who was injured. He was a 75-year-old man who lived in the home. He sustained severe burns and was first taken to Northern Light Eastern Maine Medical Center and then later air transferred down to Maine Medical Center in Portland. A second occupant of the home was not hurt. No word yet on what started the fire.
One person killed and another was injured following a terrible crash in Windsor. The Kennebec County Sheriff's Office says it was called to the Mud Mill Road around 3:12 Thursday morning. They discovered that a Subaru Outback had gone off the road and crashed into some trees. The driver, 65-year-old Sean Donovan of China, was pronounced dead at the scene. The passenger, 42-year-old Jessica Harris of Augusta, was unconscious and was rushed to a local hospital. Deputies say their preliminary investigation suggests that Mr. Donovan suffered a medical event that caused him to veer off the roadway.
Well, support service workers for Maine's community college system are calling on leadership to boost their wages and restore merit pay increases, which have been frozen since 2009. The delegation of workers from all 7 of Maine's community colleges marched on System President David Dagler's office with a signed petition from the union members, who say the increased enrollment due to Maine's free college tuition program has put even more of a strain on support workers, who should be compensated fairly.
What's being asked of the employees is astounding, and without the college valuing the staff that services the college and services the facilities and keeps the infrastructure current and going, it is demoralizing for us.
Fair pay increases are important for everybody because it's just like the necessities of life. Like, for example, I am in a situation where I am currently relying on state benefits due to the serious lack of pay. I'm currently under $17 an hour.
We reached out to System President David Dagler and received the following response. It says, quote, "The support staff represented by this bargaining unit are important members of our community and critical to our success. We are still in contract negotiations with this bargaining unit and have offered a 4.5% increase in pay each of the 2 years, in addition to increases in multiple other non-compensation areas, such as doubling the child care reimbursement. The points listed in the letter continue to be discussed in negotiations, and we look forward to coming to a mutually acceptable agreement."
Supporters of family planning services are urging lawmakers to fund a bill that would provide greater access. The bill, LD 1478, received initial approval from both the House and Senate last year, but the bill hasn't been funded yet, pending the special appropriations table process. If passed, the bill would allocate around $3.4 million every year to Maine family planning services. Advocates say the increased funding is needed to continue providing adequate care.
This network serves patients across the state and provides essential health care many would otherwise not have access to, including cancer screenings, behavioral health care, and primary care. For many patients, their family planning visit is, as Senator Peirce said, the only health care interaction they have each year.
Bill's sponsor, Senator Teresa Peirce, says she's confident the bill will be funded in the last few weeks of the legislative session.
Meanwhile, the U.S. Senate recently passed a fiscal year 2024 appropriations package, which includes significant funding to support projects right here in Maine. The appropriations package was championed by Senator Susan Collins and includes almost $427 million for projects in Maine's 16 counties. The money will be used to support law enforcement, clean water initiatives, the National Guard, the University of Maine, and also projects in smaller communities. We asked Senator Collins about her efforts to secure this funding for Maine.
It's a lot of work, and we work very hard to make sure that we have a good case, that the projects are needed, that they've been vetted, that they go to either nonprofits or to communities or counties or the state. And we had a remarkable level of success.
Well, Senator Collins says her role as a senior senator and vice chair of the Senate Appropriations Committee gives her a strong platform to speak on Maine's needs. She's now leading negotiations on a package for the remaining 6 appropriations bills for fiscal year 2024. And that second package also includes more money for projects across Maine, 63 projects to be exact.
Some of the money secured in that appropriations package will support the residents of Isle Ho. Congress has approved more than $1.8 million for the renovation of Isle Ho's ferry wharf. The boat service runs the mail boat and the only public transportation to the area. They use the wharf to load freight and park cars. Isle Ho Boat Services President George Cole says the wharf is worn out, and it's because of its age and weather. He says the federal funds will help replace it.
We have plans on the deck to maintain 100% of our service during the construction. That will involve tearing down the entire wharf, half at a time.
Surveying of the ocean floor is already getting underway. Cole says with all the preparations required for the project, it will be the winter of 2025 before the construction can begin.
Well, a groundhog got a new lease on life thanks to some good Samaritans in southern Maine. The animal was spotted lying in a driveway on Commercial Street in Portland. When people from the Saco River Wildlife Center went to check it out, the rodent scurried into the engine of one of their cars. The person couldn't find it initially, but it was still in the engine when the person got home. With help of volunteers, including the local animal control officer, the groundhog was freed. It's now being cared for by that local rehab facility.
That's quite the photo.
Yeah. It's like
everybody's smiling.
It's posing for it, you know. Look at me. He went for a crazy ride yesterday. Yeah, glad he's okay, or her.
Yeah, right. All right, the time now is 8:11. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, dairy farmers from around the state all gathered to discuss the state of the industry and the challenges they face. We'll have the story.
But first, another check of our weather forecast. A cloudy day today with a chance of rain and snow in some areas. The highest will be around 41 degrees. Partly cloudy overnight with lows dropping down to around 30. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with a chance of sprinkles. The high around 49.
Do you have a wet basement, nasty crawl space, settling foundation, sinking concrete, or clogged gutters? I'm Tony Hafford with TC Hafford Basement Systems, all things basement-y. For over 30 years, thousands of homeowners throughout Maine and southeastern New Hampshire have trusted TC Hafford. Basement waterproofing, crawl space repair, stabilizing foundations, concrete leveling, and gutter installation. Call TC Hafford Basement Systems for all things basement-y.
If you've been injured in an accident, get Maine's most recognized personal injury law firm working for you today. The law offices of Joe Bornstein, fighting and winning for injured Mainers for nearly 50 years. Selected best lawyers in America for personal injury. Recognized for professional excellence. With more than $500 million collected for injured Mainers and over 25,000 victories for Maine families. Call Joe for a free case evaluation and get the Bornstein Advantage.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota. Imagine all the slopes you'll conquer.
Sick.
Imagine all the sights you'll see.
Wow.
Whoa. Okay, how about you imagine dropping me off?
Right now, you could get low 4.75% financing for 60 months on an adventure-seeking all-wheel drive RAV4 hybrid or gas model, which could save you up to $2,000.
Ready, set, go get your Toyota today.
Toyota, let's go places.
Sheldon and Missy face off in...
Why can't we watch DuckTales? Because we don't learn anything.
Book smarts versus street smarts.
Is it working? Are you feeling motivated? Very.
It's the battle of twins.
Life is so confusing. I always hoped it would be easier for me when I grew up. It's gonna be all right. You were faking. Bazinga.
Young Sheldon.
Weekdays at 4 on Fox 20.
Farmers from over 30 dairy farms left their fields for the day for the annual Maine Dairy Seminar to highlight emerging trends and challenges within the industry. Our Grace Blanchard has more.
It's a good day to be a dairy farmer when we're at the Maine Dairy Seminar.
The annual Dairy Seminar brings farmers from across the state together to network and share challenges within the industry.
It's exciting to see all the farmers come together and get to meet and socialize and just share our concerns and issues, and also share some great things that are happening in the industry and in the communities.
Many farmers express their greatest concerns at the moment are the growing industry costs.
Being in Maine, we're at the end of the line, so feed costs are often much more expensive here than they are in other places in the country, which is a real challenge to many of our farms.
Members of the Maine Dairy Association say this is having the biggest impact on small family-owned farms.
So Maine doesn't even have any big farms. Our biggest farm is Flood Farm in Clinton, and they're tiny compared to farms in the country.
There's less than 150 dairy farmers, so the numbers are decreasing all the time, and we want to make sure we keep a stable dairy base here in the state.
And the loss of dairy farms does more than just impact the economy.
Supporting them supports our family, and it's just, you know, if there's no farms, there's no food.
They say the need is greater than ever to buy local.
It's very unlikely that you'll see farms coming back into business once they've sold their cows and stopped milking. So it's important that we try to bolster the industry as much as possible and keep as many farms milking and continuing in the business as possible.
In Waterville, Grace Blanchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Elver fishermen could soon be breathing a sigh of relief when it comes to stabilizing catch quotas. Baby eels, also called elvers or glass eels, are worth more than $2,000 per pound at times. They're vitally important to the worldwide supply chain for Japanese cuisine. The tiny fish, which weigh only a few grams, are harvested by fishermen using nets in rivers and streams. The only state in the country with a significant elver catch is here in Maine. Fishermen here have voiced concerns in recent months about the possibility of cuts to the fishery's strict quota system. An interstate regulatory board that controls the fishery has now released a plan to potentially keep the elver quota at its current level of a little less than 10,000 pounds a year with no sunset date. Fishermen who have spent years touting the sustainability of the fishery are pulling for its approval.
According to a study done by CPR Select, less than 20% of Americans are CPR certified, and the Hart Brothers Foundation wants to change that. The Newport Fire Department led a CPR training class sponsored by the Newport, the nonprofit, for members of American Legion Post 105 in Newport. The class taught how to conduct CPR and how to use the defibrillator, which was donated to the post by the organization In a Heartbeat.
Because I've been on the other side and had defibrillators go off, and you're alive, you know. And if you happen to be on the other side and you can save a life, that's a good thing.
The goal is for everyone who participates in the class to receive a CPR certification. One of those in attendance said he wanted to know how to use a defibrillator in order to help in a dire situation.
Think about it, if you're with somebody that you care about and they go down, you're going to feel awful frustrated if you don't know what to do. And this is saving lives.
If you'd like to learn more about the Hart Brothers Foundation, visit our website, foxbangor.com.
Climate activists gathered outside of the Maine Public Employee Retirement System building to demand the divestment of fossil fuel investments from the board. According to the most recent report by MainePERS, currently $1.2 million of pension funds are invested in fossil fuel industries. The coalition Divest Maine, which is made up of several climate activist groups, says MainePERS should follow the law passed 2 years ago, which mandated the divestment of funds from fossil fuels.
Because there's $1 billion in fossil fuel investments that should be removed from fossil fuel investments, because the fossil fuel industry has to be stopped from destroying the world.
They are currently in compliance with the law and are working to divest in accordance with sound investment criteria and consistent with fiduciary obligations.
Fiduciary. That's a big word.
A lot of words there. Yeah.
All right, the time now is 8:18. After the break, Maine has been granted $14 million in federal funding to fix and update many of our piers.
Plus, the Bangor Area Homeless Shelter is seeking the public's help to obtain certain types of donations. We'll tell you how you can help out as Good Morning Maine continues.
Crockett's Excavation and Auto Repair, located in Ellsworth, does it all. Whether you're looking to clear a lot, put in a driveway or road, or establish proper drainage, Crockett's Excavation has you covered. Crockett's Excavation takes pride in the fact that our work stands the test of time. Reach out today for a free estimate.
Imagine yourself in a new Toyota.
Yeah.
sick.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah.
You could get the lowest financing rate ever on most 2024 Tundra hybrid and gas models. Just 1.99% financing, which could save you up to $3,900.
Ready, set, go get your Toyota today.
Toyota, let's go places.
Lewis Black, Goodbye Yeller Brick Road, the final tour.
When I was in elementary school, then I was like 9, and the teacher said, in case of a nuclear attack, get under your desk. And I said, why would I do that? And she said, because you'll burn faster.
Lewis Black, live on stage. Collins Center for the Arts, March 24th. Get tickets now at waterfrontconcerts.com.
A new era of spring football kicks off. March 30th, the USFL champs versus the XFL champs. The heavyweight matchup that the fans deserve. Spring just got stronger. UFL kickoff weekend begins Saturday, March 30th at 1 on Fox.
Crockett's Excavation and Auto Repair, located in Ellsworth, does it all. Whether you're looking to clear a lot, put in a driveway or road, or establish proper drainage, Crockett's Excavation has you covered. Crockett's Excavation takes pride in the fact that our work stands the test of time. Reach out today for a free estimate.
Welcome back, everyone. The Bangor Area Homeless Shelter is requesting clothing donations. The nonprofit is asking people to bring in men's sneakers, women's shoes, sweatpants, and jeans. Although all donations are welcome at any time, donations manager Gretchen Fennelly says the shelter really needs men's sneakers sizes 11 through 13 and pants with waist sizes between 30 and 36, and women's shoes of all sizes.
We have a $0 budget for any donated clothes or shoes.
Used clothing and shoes are welcomed, but it must still be wearable. Donations can be dropped off at any time. Simply stop at the front door at the location on Main Street in Bangor, and the staff will take care of the rest. A link to the shelter's wish list can be found at bangorareashelter.org.
It's a lot of money for Maine communities along the coast and inland. More than $14 million in federal funding for new docks, piers, and waterfront projects. Mel Meyer reports from Rockland.
Middle Pier is at the end of its design life. It's in hard shape.
Middle Pier has survived many tough storms, but was battered in December of 2022.
Every storm since, we felt fortunate that the pier is still as intact as it is. But we're on borrowed time for sure.
Julie Hashem and the city say they see this as an opportunity.
Increased capacity, seating space for the public, an extension for our Harbor Trail Boardwalk.
They're getting $4 million to do this, which was secured by Senator Susan Collins as part of the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Appropriations Bill. President Biden signed it into law last weekend.
It's just in time.
The money will cover the majority of Phase 1 of the two-part project.
We are so grateful that we'll be able to move right into implementation with their support.
Not only will these federal funds help other coastal Maine communities, but also inland, with the city of Augusta getting nearly $4 million.
So it's been a long time thinking about it.
Augusta plans to use the money to raise the Front Street parking lot, a frequent flooding spot.
So it'll improve conditions. It won't solve every flood.
The city envisions other updates around that area, like a deck and changes to the street.
There's going to be some landscaping that'll improve the appearance of that area, so it won't be, all impervious pavement.
Mayor Mark O'Brien thinks it could still be a couple years out before that's a reality.
We hope that visitors and residents of Augusta will enjoy the improvements in the future.
All right, the time now is 8:24.
Let's get a full look at our weather forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. A small crowd advisory is posted for parts of Maine, though. This area right about in here, further off to the south and west until about 6 p.m. this evening. That's when things will start to relax. As we are watching, wave heights are not too bad just yet, though, but they will get a little bit active today, though, with some wind that will be expected along the coast. For now, we're only at about 2 feet, according to the buoys, but we'll keep an eye on this moving forward. We are watching some rain and snow developing, tracking from the west, going toward the east, so, and we're on the edge of this system, a large system that's been developing across a good part of the country. We're seeing rain and snow in our backyard. Other spots, though, seeing some showers and even some thunderstorms that have been developing even this morning, though. So in many parts of the country, especially in the southern parts of the U.S., we're definitely getting a rude wake-up call this morning, so they will be dealing with that. For us, it'll be rain and snow opportunities that will exist. We'll start to see this tapering off as we head towards midday, and the clouds will start to break up for a bit coming up later on tonight, but don't get used to that, though. For tomorrow, though, we'll be watching more clouds moving in, mainly sprinkles for us moving in, maybe flurries further off towards the north. It will not be a big deal at all. Whatever we see, we'll start to back off as we head towards Saturday evening. Then we'll have to watch for a little bit more precipitation on the way as we head towards your Sunday with a larger system that will be on the way with rain and snow opportunities that will be existing. So this one might be a little bit more of an active system as we head towards your Sunday. By Sunday night, it'll start to wrap up, and by the time we head towards Monday, a little bit more precipitation could be moving in yet again by that point, and I'll be out of here as we head towards your Tuesday as it rotates off towards the north and east. As for the snowfall, though, this will give you a general idea. It will not be a big deal. Maybe a little bit of snow in a few spots, so no big deal there. That'll be about it there. As for the rainfall, though, again, not a big deal with that. Again, maybe up to a quarter of an inch between now and early Saturday morning. But running this through just a little bit farther, though, maybe another half an inch or so of rainfall in some spots before we're all finished up. So in total, around a half inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain between now and Tuesday afternoon are possible. Average high temperature 40 degrees. We'll do lower 40s today, upper 40s Saturday. We have middle to upper 40s Sunday into Monday. And then Tuesday, we're back in the lower 40s, same with Wednesday, and also for Thursday. So for today, we have lower 40s, mostly cloudy, some rain and snow possible. The northeast wind getting up to about 5 to 10 miles per hour. By tonight, here we go, lower 30s, partly cloudy, and that north wind getting up to about 5 miles per hour. Tomorrow, we have upper 40s, mostly cloudy, some sprinkles possible with a light and variable wind. Alrighty, here is looking at extended forecast as we get closer to St. Patrick's Day, so rain and snow chances will exist for St. Patrick's Day with highs in the middle 40s. We have upper 40s for Monday with a small chance for rain, otherwise partly cloudy. Mostly cloudy Tuesday with highs in the low 40s.
Feel the freedom of driving the all-new 2024 Subaru Forester. Buy with 1.9% financing or lease for just $319 per month. It's your Subaru. Find it at Quirk.
My Signature hybrid mattress
versus this leading brand name hybrid mattress. Both combine types of memory foam with inner spring coils.
But my Signature is just $9.99. Theirs is $21.99.
Sure, they're not exactly the same, but is theirs worth so much more?
Oh my Bob!
Give me one good reason why I should call the Twos.
How about 3 great reasons you should call us? 1, we make it easy. 2, there's no upfront cost. Read the results. Call the Twos. We win for you.
Little Miss Davis Sweets and Treats, a home-based business that specializes in homemade baked goods. I bake everything from mini cupcakes and cakes, including my giant cookies, cupcakes, and large gingerbread men. I also specialize in baking homemade fudge and brownies too. Everything I bake is made to order, so I do kindly ask for at least a 7-day pickup notice when placing your order. Little Miss Davis Sweets and Treats.
The 2024 Mitsubishi Outlander. At Quirk Mitsubishi, get thunderstruck.
Severe storms spur suspected tornadoes in parts of Ohio, leaving behind major damage on Thursday. Indian Lake in Logan County was one of the hardest hit communities. Authorities say they're dealing with a, quote, mass casualty event after a suspected tornado hit a trailer park. Tornado watches were issued in a distance of more than 1,000 miles from Texas to Ohio. As of early Friday morning, PowerOutage.us is reporting more than 20,000 outages in Ohio.
Well, the debate over artificial intelligence is going global, and America is trying to lead the way. On Thursday, the U.S. introduced a new UN General Assembly resolution aimed at cinching up the way governments around the world regulate artificial intelligence, calling for oversight to make sure the technology is, quote, safe and human-centric, and that the developing world has access to its benefits as well. But the push to expand access could be at odds with another important goal, avoiding large-scale weaponization of AI by making sure the technology doesn't fall into the wrong hands. There are also concerns that some countries could be using AI-based weapon systems in their militaries, including Israel, as it continues its offensive in Gaza. The resolution came just a day after European lawmakers voted in favor of the world's first AI regulations, 5 years after they were originally proposed, with many noting the dual nature of the new technology.
A gang-fueled crisis in Haiti is raising new questions over whether we could see a new wave of Haitians seeking asylum here in the U.S. It comes as several political groups try to form a presidential council to help stabilize Haiti. The U.S. military evacuated some non-essential American embassy staff over the weekend and on Tuesday, and 10 U.S. missionaries have also been evacuated. But State Department officials say they do not have a firm number of American citizens still trapped on the ground. Violent gangs have gained control of much of the capital, Port-au-Prince, shuttering government buildings, roads, and the airport. And now several political parties have rejected a plan to create a transitional council and name an interim prime minister. The Biden administration is acknowledging concerns the crisis could lead to a mass exodus of Haitians seeking asylum in the U.S. Meanwhile, the Pentagon has deployed a Marine unit to Haiti to bolster security at the U.S. Embassy. And just to clarify, Ron DeSantis wasn't a part of those governing boards there. It has to do with asylum seekers coming into Florida.
Yep.
Coming up on the second half of the newscast, our Devin Dagnall stops in to tell us about an antique mall with just about anything you can imagine in this week's Destination Devin.
Really is a neat place. We'll take you there as Good Morning Maine continues.
My father worked at the mill for over 30 years. He was exposed to a great community and excelled at his job, but he was also exposed to asbestos. The air quality inside the mill was always his biggest complaint. He had no idea how deadly some of the products and materials were. When he was diagnosed with mesothelioma, we knew to call Joe Bornstein's office to get my dad the help he needs and the justice he deserves.
Call Joe today for a free case evaluation. There's never a fee unless you win.
I can make noodles fly.
Flying noodles?
Yeah.
The kids are back. Let's get cooking in the kitchen.
MasterChef Junior.
With a new judge.
This looks better than half the dishes that come out of my dad's restaurant.
Burn!
You can watch anytime. Their talent
Oh my gosh,
will blow you away.
This was an expensive t-shirt.
who cares?
MasterChef Junior, all new. Monday on Fox and watch anytime on Hulu.
You're watching Fox 22, Bangor.
Welcome back, everyone. Today is Friday, March 15th, 2024. It's also Everything You Think Is Wrong Day. I've been told that before. Everything you think is wrong, Craig. Sorry. Got a little personal there for a moment.
It did.
Yeah.
Wow. Who hurt you?
Let me get my list. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Keenan,
right.
Keenan over there. Yeah, he's very hurtful.
Right. This unique and unofficial holiday aims to make people realize that they aren't always right. It was created as a reminder that we're all highly imperfect, But making mistakes is not the end of the world, and most everything can be fixed. Some may think that accepting mistakes is a sign of weakness. However, it's really only those who can admit a mistake and attempt to fix them who are truly strong and successful.
I feel like my ex-wife is counseling me right now. Flashbacks there.
I think it's great. Being wrong is really freeing, and accepting that.
Hey, I'm the first to admit
Except when
I'm
somebody
wrong.
else tells you that you're wrong, and then you got to dig your heels in and argue for a while.
We can learn from our mistakes. That's a good thing. It really is. Yes. Again, sorry I got so personal. Brought back some feelings.
Yes. Woo.
All right, moving on to some history now. On this day in history, back in 44 BC, Roman dictator Julius Caesar was assassinated by a group of senators because they believed he was undermining the Roman Republic. In 1820, Maine became the 23rd state in the nation. Happy birthday to the state of Maine. In 1959, Robert Foster set a world record by holding his breath underwater for an incredible 13 minutes, 42 and a half seconds. Just incredible.
I don't know how his lungs didn't burst.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. These guys train for it too. You know, the shorter amounts, and then I don't know what this guy did. But
that's my worst nightmare.
Yeah. It was a record that he actually held for 48 years. Somebody beat him, so they stayed under even longer. In 1965, President Johnson addressed a joint session of Congress and called for new legislation to guarantee every American's right to vote. The result was passage of the Voting Rights Act of 1965.
Yeah.
And in 1968, Jimi Hendrix was declared the most spectacular guitarist in the world by Life magazine. I think a lot of well-known musicians would say the same. I read a thing by Eric Clapton one time. When the first time he saw Jimi Hendrix, he was just blown away.
Yeah.
Never seen anybody play like that.
Right.
So,
yeah. That was an awesome photo of him too.
Yeah.
In 1972, The Godfather, starring Marlon Brando and Al Pacino, premiered in New York. In 1985, the world's first internet domain. Oh no, it's your brother. Is he here to tell you that you're wrong about something
Am I
else?
wrong?
You're starting to sweat.
Thank you. Woo. Thanks, bro.
Okay, yeah.
I thought he was going to
That
tell
was
me
super
you're
helpful.
wrong, Craig.
You're wrong. That's actually February 15th. In 1985, the world's first internet domain name was registered to a corporation in Massachusetts. There are now more than 1 billion domain names around the world. And in 1990, Mikhail Gorbachev became the president of the Soviet Union. His economic and political reforms led to the fall of the Berlin Wall and the end of the Cold War. And in 1991, 4 Los Angeles police officers were indicted for the beating of Rodney King. And finally now, in 1998, Titanic became the #1 box office movie ever.
A lot of history today. Today's birthdays include rapper will.i.am, who is 49, actress Eva Longoria is also 49, and rocker Bret Michaels from the band Poison is 61 years old today. Happy birthday. Yeah.
Yeah. You're going to be having a will.i.am song, Black Eyed Peas song.
Oh, it's been in my head all morning ever since I wrote that.
Yeah.
You know, I love it though.
Yeah, it's
the
fun.
Black Eyed Peas are awesome.
Yeah, right.
So.
I like them too.
All right, here's Devin with your forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. We've made it to Friday morning. We have one small spot under a small cloud advisory along the coast of Maine. Now lasts until about 6 p.m. as we head towards this evening, as things will begin to calm down by that point. We are watching precipitation that's moving in now from the west to the east, as some rain and yes, some snow will be mixing in. I'm not too worried about any major snow accumulations. You might get a little bit, but most of it will fall as rain later on today as temperatures warm into the 40s. Here's that system right about in here. It's a large one, though, giving us some rain and snow opportunities across the northeast, but further down to the south and west, you can see the rain showers and even some thunderstorms that are developing further off towards the south and west. Futurecast for today will start to lose the precipitation during the afternoon period. We'll even lose the clouds for a bit later on tonight, but more clouds and a little bit of precipitation on the way as we head towards your Saturday. As for the wind, though, not too bad. Roughly at around 5 to 10 miles per hour for today. Not too bad. We'll see the winds backing off later on tonight, especially as we head towards tomorrow as well. For today, lower 40s, mostly cloudy, rain and snow opportunities do exist, with that northeast wind getting up to about 5 to 10 miles per hour. By tonight, lower 30s under a partly cloudy sky, and the north breeze only at about 5 miles per hour. As we head towards tomorrow, we have upper 40s, mostly cloudy, some sprinkles possible as well, with a light and variable wind. Alrighty, that hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period showing rain and snow chances on the way, backing off for the afternoon with highs in the lower 40s or so. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma?
Thank you, Devin. All right, now it's time to check in with Devin Dagnall to hear all about his newest destination.
Good morning, Devin.
Good morning, Craig, and thank you, Emma. You know, you never know what kind of hidden treasures you'll find when you go out antiquing. And there's a business in Ellsworth so chock full, you can find little gems every time you visit. Check it out on this week's Destination Devon.
1A Relics is an antique mall on the outskirts of Ellsworth that seems to have just about anything you can think of, short of the kitchen sink.
Let me start at the beginning then. Toys, comic book, Legos, you know what that's from. We have one of the largest bookstores in Ellsworth, and then of course, you get a coyote. If a person comes walking through the door asking for something in particular, good chance we have it.
Shelley Bradsell and her husband originally opened the mall back in 2018. The couple has always been interested in antiquing and opened their business hoping to be the ideal place for vendors and artisans alike to peddle their wares.
Moxie, vintage clothing. Jerry's our license plate guy. There's Spider-Man. You have Kermit, print kind of records, vinyl. Kids don't know what a cassette tape is.
Over the years, these entrepreneurs haven't wasted a single inch of floor space, cramming in as many vendors as they can fit.
So we've doubled in the number of spaces. We've doubled, well, we probably tripled in the amount of spaces that we actually have for people.
With such an eclectic look along the 1A road, the Bradsells have no problem getting people to stop in and see what they're all about.
We've got some Stephen King books that are signed by him. Leatherface cutting the head off of Mario, Grandma and Grandpa.
Father Ray plays at the cross.
We're one of the first stops going on the way to Bar Harbor, so we get a lot of tourists. So that's fantastic. But the locals, once the locals find us and realize what we have in here, we hear a lot of comments about, I'm going to bring my family back, I'm going to bring my sisters back, oh, my mother's coming and such, they're going to love this place.
Even if you're not looking to buy anything, Shelley says she welcomes anyone who just wants to stop in to take a look around.
We're all about atmosphere and making people happy.
In Ellsworth, Kevin Dagnall.
Thank you.
ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Cool. Looks like something for everybody.
Oh, there's something for everyone there, and if you're looking to do a little spring cleaning, dropping some stuff off there is a great alternative to Goodwill, because anything that you drop off and donate, all the proceeds will go to the SPCA and the Ellsworth Fire Department. They've already donated something like $4,000 to the SPCA.
That's
over there
fantastic.
In Hancock County.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a great organization.
Good to know.
Yeah. And just there's something there for everyone.
Yeah,
they got 3 floors just full of anything you can imagine.
I saw a couple things that I'm going to have to go visit for myself.
If it's there still, because it might already be gone.
Right.
I've driven by a million times. I've always wondered what it looks like in there, so I'm glad you did that story.
Yeah.
Very
cool.
neat.
Thank you, Devin.
Thank you, guys.
We'll send it over to sports right after the break. Tyler Cruz will have the latest with that. Plus, we'll have an interview with the museum director of the 19th Century Curran Village. They have a very cool event going on tomorrow.
Don't go away.
CEM DP Porter Contractors has been in business for over 40 years in the Bangor area. We specialize in commercial, medical, and residential design build construction, as well as building maintenance and renovations. CEM DP Porter Contractors is currently hiring in Herman for multiple positions, including carpenters and a project manager superintendent. We offer vacation, holidays, a 3% IRA match, competitive pay, and a family-oriented environment. If interested in applying, please contact Jason at 848-7486.
Don't get cold feet this winter. Stay warm and dry with high-performance footwear from Comfort Shoes and More. With an extensive selection of winter boots rated from 0 to minus 60 degrees Fahrenheit, you'll find comfort in knowing your feet will be warm in any weather. Discover the latest in functional and fashionable footwear with grippers built right into the sole. With boots in stock up to 6E and size 17 for men and women. Take the drive to Newport for a sit and fit to find your perfect fit. You and your feet will be glad you did.
When you're ready to tackle your next building project, depend on the knowledge and experience of Hammond Lumber Company. Hammond's Home Planning Center will turn your ideas into accurate conceptual drawings, and 3D visualization is available. Your Hammond sales rep will prepare a materials list and cost estimate. And when you buy all of your materials from them, Hammond will refund all of your design fees. Hammond can deliver your order from any of their 22 locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner since 1953.
Did you see that? Hear that? Feel that? Is this how you prove you earn the crown?
Winning is in his DNA.
How you shut up the haters?
I love it.
Handle the heat?
Who's going to make the move?
It's going to be a must-win. Is this a shooting star? Rock star? Superstar? Okay. Let's all take a deep breath. Because once we peel out, there's no looking back. You ready?
Sign up for You Pick'em Red Sox at foxbangor.com. Pick who you think is going to win and compete against other fans for prizes.
Welcome back in, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. A big weekend at the Alfond coming up on Saturday. Maine hockey just one win away from a trip to the Garden for the Hockey East semifinals, and longtime rival New Hampshire stands in the way. Ryan Sudol has more.
You know, it's nice to be part of something right now where we're not building for next year. We're doing everything we can as we think we can win it this year.
It's been 20 years since Maine men's hockey's last Hockey East title, and the road to the Lamoriello Trophy begins at the Alfond on Saturday night.
Whatever perceived pressure is there should hopefully be gone now, and we can just go out and enjoy playing together as long as we possibly can. That's what this time of year is all about.
After losing 5 of 6 games, the pressure was on, and the Black Bears delivered, winning their last 3 games, including a sweep of a UMass team fighting for home ice.
Things weren't going bad after Christmas, but they weren't going as good as they were in the first half, so to play a team that was as desperate as them and playing as well as they did to get those points were huge.
Hopefully that belief factor is coming back, and obviously we need it going into playoffs.
But what has never left is the Black Bears' underdog mentality. Yes, they're the number 8 team in the country, but if you ask head coach Ben Barr, they're hardly ever the favorites.
That has to be our mentality, because on paper every night we are. UMass, I think they had 12 draft picks. We are underdogs, and you know, we can never lose that. Once you lose that, you've lost your edge a little bit.
But even if, with wins over teams like top-ranked Boston College, Providence, UConn, all with plenty draft picks, the Black Bears know their place.
We know the type of hockey we need to play to be successful against them. Games come down to doing the detailed things better, and I take us over a lot of teams right now if we can play our game right.
Their opponents in Saturday's quarterfinals, the 6th seed and arch rivals, UNH. And it will take those little details to move to TD Garden.
Every hit you take, every hit you give, getting a stick on that puck at the red line is a big deal.
And with all the support from Black Bear Nation that seems to be growing with each and every sold-out game in Orono, it's easy to get sentimental. But these guys are locked in.
So much work has gone into what, you know, we've kind of built here, and to be a part of something so important to, you know, the whole state is awesome. You know, we're on a Saturday now and just focusing on that.
In Orono, I'm Ryan Sudol, ABC 7, Fox 22 Sports.
Thanks for that, Ryan. Looking forward to this weekend. Let's move on to some football now. We are not even a week into the new NFL year, and the Patriots already look a lot different than last year's team. One of those biggest moves was at quarterback. Gone are the days of Mac Jones under center in New England. The 15th overall pick traded to Jacksonville for a 6th rounder. So New England moving back basically 185 picks. That's all old news. But on Thursday, we did hear from Mac Jones for the very first time since the trade from his former team. That's new news. He was asked if he had any regrets and how he reflects on his time in New England. And despite what seemed like a bad experience, Mac said he was simply thankful for the learning opportunities.
Every experience is a good experience if you learn from it. So, you know, the games that we lost, the things that happened, obviously you don't ever want to lose. You want to win every game you play in. I don't have regrets. I feel like I put everything out there, gave a lot to that organization, and they gave a lot to me. So I'm going to do the same thing here.
All right, good luck, Jacksonville. Let's move on to the basketball court now and down to TD Garden. Hopefully, we see Maine hockey there next week. But on Thursday, the Celtics were there hosting Kevin Durant and the Suns looking for another win. We're going to pick this one up in the first quarter. Celtics down. Peyton Pritchard gets a hand on it. Over to Jason Tatum, slams it home in transition 4-2. Celtics up 3 now, still in the first. Kevin Durant gets it, gets into the lane. He's just too good when he's in there. Gets the floater to go off the Euro step. Second quarter now, off the Derek White miss. Tatum's going to get the long rebound, spots up on the wing, and drains the 3. All right, here we go. Same man, same spot, this time over Kevin Durant, and he gets it to go. JT cooking in the first half. Second half, time for the other J now, going to work on the whole Phoenix defense and gets it to go. And then on the other end of the ball, JB picks off the pass, slams it home with an exclamation point. He had 37. Celtics win 127-112. All right, to the other team out of the Garden now, the Boston Bruins on the road Thursday. They're in Montreal, a big matchup against the Canadiens. Linus Ullmark gets the nod in net for the Tilt, no score. Bruins looking to strike first. Pavel Zacha finds David Pastrnak. His shot no good. Look at Danton Heinen from the seat of his pants. Gets it to go. Bruins up 1-0. Later in the first, Canadiens down 1-0 still. Off a loose puck, Nick Suzuki finds Juros Slavkowski. He passes it back to Suzuki. He beats Ullmark. This one is all tied, and it would stay that way up through regulation, but not long after that. Brad Marchand finds Jake DeBrusk not a minute into the extra period, and he seals the game winner. An overtime win for the Bees for a change, 2-1 the final. All right, that is all the time we have for sports. We'll be right back after the break.
My experience with Dave's World was extraordinary from start to finish, and I have unconditionally and frequently recommended Dave's World to numerous friends. I love my Mitsubishi electric heat pumps from Dave's World. They're efficient, they're quiet, and it's been a joy. Every single solitary person I dealt with at Dave's World was world class. I'm delighted with the decision that I made. Dave's World, awesome.
I have type 2 diabetes, but I manage it well. It's a little pill with a big story to tell. I take once daily Jardiance. At each day's start, as Tylenol, it was easy to see. I'm lowering my A1C.
Jardiance works 24/7 in your body to flush out some sugar. And for adults with type 2 diabetes and known heart disease, Jardiance can lower the risk of cardiovascular death too.
Serious side effects may include ketoacidosis that may be fatal, dehydration that can lead to sudden worsening of kidney function, and genital yeast or urinary tract infections. A rare life-threatening bacterial infection in the skin of the perineum could occur. Stop Jardiance and call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of this infection, ketoacidosis, or an allergic reaction. You may have increased risk for lower limb loss. Call your doctor right away if you have symptoms of infection in your legs or feet. Taking Jardiance with a sulfonylurea or insulin may cause low blood sugar.
Jardiance is really swell, the little pill with a big story to tell.
Long before pharmacies or drugstores set up shop in main cities and towns, residents had their prescriptions filled at an apothecary.
It's the awe factor when you step in and see the immensity of the collection.
We'll step back in time to visit the Laverdier Apothecary in Waterville. Monday on Fox 22 News at 10.
I can make anything disappear.
Critics love The Cleaning Lady, and Tuesday is all new.
I might have something for you to clean.
The Cleaning Lady, all new Tuesday on Fox.
Welcome back to Good Morning Maine. We're here with Robert Schmick. He is the museum director for the 19th Century Curran Village, and he's here to talk about the event going on, the Maple event going on Saturday, right, Robert?
Yes. So we have a maple syrup and Irish celebration from 10 to 3 on Saturday.
Yep.
And we have a lot of things. We have an egg hunt for kids. We do not have our carousel running. That's only from May to October.
Right.
But we have lots of food. We have Belgian draft horses giving wagon rides. We have blacksmithing going on. We have a class actually taking place during that time period. And we have a lot of other things planned. We have, of course, sugaring off going on in the sugar shack.
You'll actually be tapping trees and making maple syrup.
Well, we've already tapped them, and it's the end of the sap running actually. And today probably is the death toll because of the cold and the rain. But we were able to gather enough sap up to make some syrup. We usually, like last year, we made 4.5 gallons, which is hundreds of gallons of sap. And we're just a kind of old, we're a small operation. So we, carry pails out into the sugar bush and bring back sap and boil it on this old stove.
Well, that's what it's all about. You guys are trying to show people how people lived and worked back in the day.
Absolutely, yeah. So, there's lots of homemade food in the farmhouse. The wood stove that the Currans used back in the day will be going full tilt. And we have bluegrass music. We have Riverside Jammers, which is a group of 4 to 5 musicians, and they'll be playing in the farmhouse. And so it should be a good time.
Is there a cost?
Oh, yeah. Adults are $12, and it's an all-inclusive price. And 13 to 18-year-olds is $6, and then 12 and under is free.
All right.
Cool. And this is in Orrington at the 19th Century Current
On
Village.
Fields Pond Road,
Cool.
yep, overlooking Fields Pond.
Yeah.
And we don't have any snow as we've had in the past, but we likely will have mud. So bring your
like mud,
bring your boots.
Yeah, good call. Good
Yeah.
call. Robert, thanks for joining us this
Thank
morning.
you for having me.
Of course. We'll send it over to Devin Biggs for our full weather forecast.
It all starts with a Chevy truck. Chevy Silverado with the TurboMax engine and best-in-class standard torque. And Chevy Silverado HD with up to 14 available camera views. Do more in a Chevy truck. Get yours now.
During Chevy truck season, get 0.9% financing on all 2023 and 2024 Silverado 1500 pickups. Or current Chevy owners can get $6,000 total cash allowance when you trade in an eligible vehicle. Visit your main Chevy dealer.
CEM DP Porter Contractors have been in business for more than 40 years. We have recently added an electrical division to further be of service to our loyal customers. CEM specializes in design build for commercial and residential projects. Whether you need help with older construction, new build-outs, or electrical services, CEM has you covered. CEM is currently hiring for all positions. We offer competitive pay as well as great benefits. To inquire about employment or construction, please reach out to 848-7486 or visit CEMmaine.com.
This spring is the perfect time to get away with a great deal on your favorite Hyundai model. All backed by America's best warranty, plus 3 years or 36,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. Add more joy to your journey at the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Get in and get away now before these deals are gone. Lease an all-wheel drive Tucson for $229 a month, or get 0% APR or up to $1,500 bonus cash. See your Bangor Hyundai dealer.
There was no salt or sand.
And because of that, I slipped and fell.
When snow or ice isn't removed, you need a powerful law firm to go after every dollar you may deserve.
I needed to protect my rights.
Cases like this require resources and experience.
Over 25,000 victories for injured Mainers and more than $500 million collected for Maine families.
I never thought I'd get that much.
The law offices of Joe Bornstein. Maine lawyers working for Maine people.
And now we'll send it over to Devin for another look at that forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. A small crowd advisory is posted for parts of Maine, though. This area right about in here, further off to the south and west until about 6 p.m. this evening. That's when things will start to relax. As we are watching, wave heights are not too bad just yet, though, but they will get a little bit active today, though, with some wind that will be expected along the coast. For now, we're only at about 2 feet according to the buoys, but we'll keep an eye on this moving forward. We are watching some rain and snow developing, tracking from the west, going toward the east, so, and we're on the edge of this system, a large system has been developing across a good part of the country. We're seeing rain and snow in our backyard. Other spots, though, seeing some showers and even some thunderstorms that have been developing even this morning, though. So in many parts of the country, especially in the southern parts of the U.S., we're definitely getting a rude wake-up call this morning, so they will be dealing with that. For us, it'll be rain and snow opportunities that will exist. We'll start to see this tapering off as we head towards midday, and the clouds will start to break up for a bit coming up later on tonight, but don't get used to that, though. For tomorrow, though, we'll be watching more clouds moving in, mainly sprinkles for us moving in, maybe flurries further off towards the north. That will not be a big deal at all. Whatever we see will start to back off as we head towards Saturday evening. Then we'll have to watch for a little bit more precipitation on the way as we head towards your Sunday with a larger system that will be on the way with rain and snow opportunities that will be existing. So this one might be a little bit more of an active system as we head towards your Sunday. By Sunday night, it'll start to wrap up, and by the time we head towards Monday, a little bit more precipitation could be moving in yet again by that point, and I'll be out of here as we head towards your Tuesday as it rotates off towards the north. north and east. As for the snowfall, though, this should give you a general idea. It will not be a big deal. Maybe a little bit of snow in a few spots, so no big deal there. That'll be about it there. As for the rainfall, though, again, not a big deal with that. Again, maybe up to a quarter of an inch between now and early Saturday morning. But running this through just a little bit farther, though, maybe another half an inch or so of rainfall in some spots before we're all finished up. So in total, around a half inch to 3/4 of an inch of rain between now and Tuesday afternoon are possible. Average high temperature 40 degrees. We'll do lower 40s today, upper 40s Saturday. We have middle to upper 40s Sunday into Monday. And then Tuesday, we're back in the lower 40s, same with Wednesday, and also for Thursday. So for today, we have lower 40s, mostly cloudy, some rain and snow possible. The northeast wind getting up to about 5 to 10 miles per hour. By tonight, here we go, lower 30s, partly cloudy, and the north wind getting up to about 5 miles per hour. Tomorrow, we have upper 40s, mostly cloudy, some sprinkles possible with a light and variable wind. Alrighty, here's looking at extended forecast as we get closer to St. Patrick's Day, so rain and snow chances will exist for St. Patrick's Day with highs in the middle 40s. We have upper 40s for Monday with a small chance for rain, otherwise partly cloudy. Mostly cloudy Tuesday with highs in the low 40s.
All right, thank you, Devin. Well, finally, a bizarre moment halting play at a major tennis match creates an emergency of sorts as thousands of bees swarm the court at the Indian Wells Open held in Southern California. The bees stinging the second-ranked player in the world, Carlos Alcaraz, on the head as they swarmed the camera above the court. The queen bee ended up taking up residence on the camera. Officials calling in this man, Lance Davis, who runs a bee removal service called Killer Bee Live Removal. Davis was able to use his vacuum to swoop up the bees, eventually allowing the match to resume. The sting Carlos Alcaraz suffered did not slow him down. He went on to easily beat his opponent. Look at all those bees. Not what you want when there's a lot of folks around. Kind of scary. All right, that's it for now, folks. We thank you so much for joining us. We hope you have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you right back here on Monday morning.